Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Roberts, and I'm the Capital Projects Manager for Woodland Pond. And this is my weekly broadcast to give you updates on how we're doing with our development project. We have been concentrating on the health centre design in the last couple of weeks. So while the architects and engineers continue to do the documentation for the community centre, for the planning board application, for the community centre. We are continuing with the interior architects and our Architects AG Architecture on the health centre design. Really trying to get into the more detailed design. And to that end, earlier this week, we had a couple of focus groups. One was with an employee group for the health centre, really drawing on their knowledge of, the day-to-day needs and programming for the health centre, and, all the kind of things that they run into from a day-to-day basis, all the things that work, all the things that don't work, things we can improve. And then the other group we met with was the Health Centre Committee, and that was really useful too, because there you have residents who have direct experience from the user point of view, and some have spouses who are in the health centre, so there's all the mechanics of moving between IL and AL and so on. So just a couple of really good meetings in terms of fine-tuning the health centre design. What I'm going to do today is run through a couple of the plans that we have. Just more, not really getting into too much detail, but to give you an overview of what the overall strategy is for the health centre and how we can improve it, and how sort of the understanding and general approach to design in assisted living, memory care has kind of changed over the years since the health centre was first built. So I'm going to share my screen now, and yep, share. Hopefully you can all see my screen. So I know it's a plan at a large scale, but as I say, we're going to kind of talk about the larger concepts, not so much about all the small spaces. But this is the first floor of the health centre. So just to kind of orientate you, here is the entrance to the health centre. And this is down here is the connection to IL, to independent living. They're the double doors that go to independent living. One of the main approaches or changes in design in the health centre is to create more centralized community spaces. These are so that the people who are living in nursing and in assisted living really feel like there's a central place for them to come out and socialize, eat, do activities together, and so on. So what we don't have at the moment, what we're creating is, and I'm circling with the cursor now, is you see that number 2. So this is a living room and kitchen, dining room, and what we call a community kitchen. And what that is a sort of more residential scale kitchen, so that it feels more homey, feels more like coming home, and in the dining room, where food won't be cooked there, but it will be prepared and plated in front of residents. And there's even an idea that there may be some cooking that residents do from time to time as an activity, and so it's in this sort of familiar and not a commercial sort of kind of setting. So as you'll see, what this does, and this is actually where rooms are at the moment. And so what we're doing is creating living spaces, a living room and a dining area, which have a lot more sunlight and daylight and access to the outside. So what we expect here is that there'll be a skilled nursing living room here, and that will give the residents direct access to the garden to get outside, have a seating area like a terrace with tables. If family are visiting, they can visit around the table. They can take activities outside on a nice day. And we think this is really, it's just tremendously important and something that we honestly don't have at the moment in these areas. So the rooms that are displaced here, and the yellow on this plan is additions to the existing building. So we're going to build the 4 new rooms here because they are displaced from our new change in use in the middle of the building. This nurses station will be held at this little nub on the corner here so that they have good views throughout the facility. And like I said, that's the addition there. We swing over to memory care. It's a similar kind of approach. Once again, the yellow indicates an addition to the building. And this is the dining room and kitchen here. And this will have a number of windows and gets great views of the ridge, which I think is really nice. Once again, really, and excuse me, this is the living area or activities area in here. So you end up with a much increased community space to really allow residents to have plenty of space for activities and to socialize and so on. But also giving them a lot more access to daylight and to views outside, which is once again very important. And this community kitchen, once again, looking at the plating of food, the smell of food, and so on, is part of the dining experience rather than food just sort of appearing out of nowhere. So once again, we look at the sort of country kitchen concept in this area, and because this change here displaces a room, we end up adding a room to the end at the courtyard here. Other things don't change, access to the garden is still the same. And then when we look at the reconfiguration of the entry, once again, this is the addition to the building, but in doing this addition, it's recognized that this porch, L-shaped porch outside of the building is just a really lovely place that a lot of residents like to sit outside, and enjoy the sunshine and so on. So where we fill in the porch, we actually replace it with a new porch on the outside, so they still have that ability to sit on the porch there. And then our OT and PT areas get enlarged for treatment areas, as well as the sort of common treatment area, and trying to maximize, the amount of light that we get into those. They're obviously going to be this one, the IP is going to be a little deeper, but get sunshine in there. And I had a meeting with them yesterday just to kind of fine tune some of the details there. That's a big improvement to expand that. And excuse me, the other thing that you'll see is that this dining room, now that we have dining down here, this dining room goes away. Kitchen's the same. The idea of here is the elevator that the food is delivered. So you have this back of house kitchen. But one of the main things that we're doing here in support of people on the second floor having access to the outside, we're trying to create with this elevator, they'll come down this elevator and then go out, and this number 19 here is a porch with access to an AL garden. So once again, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for residents to come down the elevator and go straight out. There is this lovely porch here for them to sit out and then have access to the garden. So once again, trying create that access for residents. And then actually, if you look at this plan, so upstairs, once again in AL, the dining room is reconfigured. It has like a country kitchen, once again. So it's a little more residential in feel, less institutional in feel. We know that we need at least the capacity of the dining room that we have at the moment. And once again, these kitchens are there to kind of support some, residents doing some activities where they may, do some cooking together, bake cookies, that sort of thing, as part of their enjoyment of this area. Once again, in this area, we sort of reconfiguring things a little bit in order to get a more centralized multi-purpose room in this area, and that once again means that we add a couple units at this end. So that's an overbuild. It's over the top of the first floor. But we need that because although we're not adding any living units to the health centre, we need to maintain the number that we already have. And so that's the plan there. And then when we move down here on the second floor, once again, we have an increased or enlarged living room with lots of windows to see the ridge outside. And, this enlarged living room as well, multi-purpose. There's a multi-purpose room here, and trying to give as much daylight and views to the residents as possible with this additional room. Once again, same as the first floor, this is added because of the displaced room at this point. And you can imagine that residents here can go down the elevator that you're probably familiar with and be able to access the outside. The great room here is, we've looked at this as a little bit of an odd shaped room. It's used for many activities. So what we're looking at doing there, we're not going to change the shape of it, but what we would like to do is to put in a partition, a folding wall, so that we can, when we want, divide that space into two, so that two activities can go on. Or, sometimes if there's just one activity and there's less people using the room, sometimes it's nicer to make a more intimate feel within the room, just to close that down and not feel like you're in a huge room where, there's other distractions going on. So I think that's a really good, increase to the amenity of this of the great room on the second floor. For all these rooms, there are sort of minor details that we're learning that we need to improve. So, there's been a question about in these activities rooms always having a sink and a counter to support activities. And they're the sorts of, sort of lesser upgrades that will make these rooms a lot more useful. And then the other thing that we discussed in one of the recent meetings was we looked at the possibility, because this is the addition to the first floor. We realize that we have an enlarged roof here. And so in order, once again, to really facilitate residents being able to get outside, we thought this is a great location for a roof terrace. And get some planting up there, have some sun shading as well. So you have the option of, sitting out in the sun or being in a shaded area in the warmer weather. But with this immediate access right in the middle of AL, we thought this is a great opportunity. And I'll just show you a little, sort of sketch here. This gives you an idea, if we're looking at sort of a bird's eye view of the health centre, the space that we can capture up on that roof, and, lovely, it gets lots of sun. And once again, I think the great advantage here is that it's right in the middle of the second floor AL, so it's kind of very easy to access this deck if you just want to step outside or be outside, even for a few minutes. It's not like a large journey to get to the outside. I think that's really nice. I had, so that's it for the health centre. I had a great visit with Nora Brown, did me a great favor by organizing a trip to Zero Place earlier this week. I know a number of you have visited there, but it's got a lot of examples of sustainable practices, both in energy production as well as the building envelope. So that was really useful and kind of tells us that some of these things aren't so complicated. It just needs a lot of pre-design and thought. But sustainability is always at the forefront of our mind. I hope you all have a great weekend. It is the Australian Rules Footy Grand Final, football Grand Final this Saturday. I don't expect you to be tuning in, but next week I'll let you know what the result is. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. Okay, bye.